After the traumatic events of May 1945, the Algerian nationalist movement began preparing for armed struggle. But even before a single shot was fired, a war was already being waged, within. Beneath the surface, a growing rift divided those who saw Algeria as an Arabo-Muslim nation, and those who insisted on a plural, secular identity rooted in Berber culture and history. The conflict would come to a head in what would be known as the Berberist Crisis of 1949, the first major fracture inside the nationalist movement. In September 1948, Messali launched an appeal to the United Nations. In it, he traced Algeria's history to the Arab conquest and claimed that Algeria was an integral part of the Western Arab world, the so-called Arab Maghreb. The Kabyles within the PPA-MTLD protest against this interpretation of history and this conception of the national question. The French Federation of the PPA-MTLD, a Kabyle-dominated branch of the party based in Paris, responded through one of its leading voices, Rachid Ali Yahya, then editor of the newspaper L'Étoile Algérienne. He writes, "Algeria is not Arab, it is Algerian. We must form a union of all Muslim Algerians who want to fight for national liberation, without distinguishing between Arab and Berber. We have been reading for some time in the newspapers, and some leaders have said it, that Algeria is Arab. Not only are these comments false, but the idea they express is clearly racist, even imperialist." At the expanded Central Committee, held in December 1948 in the town of Zidane, Ahmed presented his report in which he insisted on the Algerian character of Algeria and the ongoing revolution. No linguistic or religious references were contained in the report. Drawing on the historical peasant struggles of North Africa since antiquity, led by men such as Jugurtha, Takfarines, Abdelkader, and Al-Muqarrani, Ahmed maintains that the liberation struggle will be a real revolutionary war. With the revolution approaching and the report almost unanimously adopted, the French Federation of the PPA sought to clarify the national question. Advocating the equality of Berber and Arabic languages and cultures, a motion by Rachid Ali Yahya was passed. Out of 32 members of the Federal Committee, 28 reject any idea of an Arab and Muslim Algeria and are in favor of the thesis of an Algerian Algeria. This is the Berberist Crisis of 1949. The first time in the history of the national movement that Berbers openly assert their linguistic and cultural identity and the desire to reappropriate their history. The revolutionary, democratic wing of the party was quickly stifled. Many Kabyle activists were purged. Some even denounced the colonial authorities. The PPA leadership reacted violently. First, it dissolved the Federation of France, excluded all radical elements, and announced what they called the Berberist plot manipulated by colonialism. Furthermore, the PPA leadership falsely accuses the Kabyles of having founded a factionalist party, the Kabyle People's Party, or the PPK. For his part, Abdenour Ali Yahya affirms that there was never any question of creating a PPK, which existed only in the minds of the party leaders, who joined in with French colonialism, both keen to divide in order to rule. In France, PPA loyalists formed into shock groups and attacked cafes frequented by Berberists. In Algeria, the French police successively arrested all the PPA members responsible for Kabyle: Amar Hmoudan, Saïdou Vouzer, Amar Sdiq, and Amar Voudaoud. Only Velaïd Temedrien escaped arrest. He, the arrested officials, and the excluded leaders of the French Federation are convinced that they were handed over to the colonial authorities by the PPA leadership. Following these successive arrests, the party convened in Algiers in July, without the presence of Ahmed, then head of the Organisation Spéciale, the paramilitary wing of the PPA-MTLD. In September 1949, party officials decided to replace Ahmed with Ahmed Ben Belang at the helm of the OS and removed him from the PPA's decision-making ranks. Abandoned by his ex-colleagues in the PPA leadership, actively sought by the police, Ahmed, hunted and sentenced in absentia to forced labor for life, fled to Cairo in 1951. The PPA leadership fueled internal division among Kabyles, turning resistance fighters against their political and intellectual leadership. Karim Belkacem was designated as the person responsible for Kabyle. Farhatha Aliyan, a former party activist, one of Mesli's most determined adversaries, opposes the elimination of his Berber comrades from the party leadership. Kerim Belqasem shoots him and seriously injures him. The Kabyle militants, refusing a fratricidal struggle, decided to step aside so as to not compromise the revolutionary process. Born from a split within the MTLD, an association for the development of the Berber language known as Tiwizighi Mazik was created on March 11, 1954 in Paris. Its board of directors is made up of 12 members, all of whom are former PPA-MTLD activists. The Berber Crisis of 1949, resolved in a violent and bureaucratic manner, repressed the Berber question for many years to the depths of the Kabyle collective subconscious. It annihilated hopes of seeing a radical nationalism develop independently of religious faith. The rationalist and secular grasp of the political problem is now repressed in favor of the mystical approach.